Good evening and welcome to 40 Days Documented Lesson, where we're looking tonight at the 144,000 mentioned in Revelation 7 and Revelation 14. Before we get to those, that 144,000, I want us to be clear that I need to do an addition to last week's work. The word used for forehead, right? Where in Revelation 7, they were called out, do not harm the earth or tree or seals, earth or sea or trees, until we have sealed the servants of our God on their foreheads. The word used for forehead there is metopon. And Thayer's Greek lexicon tells us literally that means the space between the eyes. So these 144,000 men will have a seal, a figurative seal, of course, not a literal mark between their eyes. They'll have a figurative seal between their eyes. Now, what could that mean? That's something I'm not so sure about. The sealing, when we read about other commentators' thoughts, it carries a number of possibilities, but a lot of what they were looking at didn't really make too much sense, right? So as far as that goes, keep in mind there is going to be something between the eyes. Now, if we figuratively look at that, the forehead, you think with your head, see with your eyes, but this has to be some kind of allegory that indicates these 144,000 men will be different, right? They will be special in some way, right? From chapter 7, we see that these men are sealed between their eyes and that they are servants. So, sealed the servants of our God. Based on that, we can tell that they are called servants of God. And the word doulos means servant or slave or bondservant. And in this particular verse, when we check the meaning of that, it means metaphorically one who gives himself up wholly to another person's will. It could also be used to represent all who obey God's commands, his true worshippers. I see a lot of people talking about worship this, worship that. And most people, when they talk about worship, they're talking about the song service in churches. I've made it clear to everybody here at 40 Days, a worship service is any action done in submission to God's will when you want to do something else. Present your bodies as a living sacrifice, right? Romans 12:1 and 2 tells us what true worship is. Now, these 144,000, these will be exemplars of the Christian life. They will be the ones who submit their own wills to God in love, not in obligation. They will preach the gospel to all creation. They will love their neighbors as themselves, and they will not be participants in the world's ways. So they will be what we should be. Many different groups interpret the 144,000 in, like I said, different ways. But as I mentioned before, we will not entertain foolish and outrageous doctrines. I'm specifically talking here about some of the stuff Jehovah's Witnesses say. Don't go and, I would tell you, don't go and check them out, but they talk so much nonsense in that. They contribute to a lot of misinterpretation of what this 144,000 is. All right. Some people out there think the 144,000, that's all the people going to be saved. Doesn't make sense. Some think that's all who are going to be saved from Israel, no more than that. That doesn't make sense either. I don't know where these people come up with these ideas. I guess it's the same kind of mentality as people coming in and saying, well, Christmas is celebrating Jesus' birth, but he wasn't born on the 25th, so we will celebrate it still. If you have to say Jesus wasn't born on the 25th, still, I question your intelligence. Everybody knows that. So why are you saying it as if somebody out there think that's when Jesus was born? I don't know. Now, if we observe this chapter 7, I heard the number of the sealed, 144,000 sealed from every tribe of the sons of Israel. And they go 12,000 from each tribe named. Judah is first. Then Reuben. Reuben was the firstborn, but Judah was named first because Judah steps up. Judah, Reuben, Gad, Asher, Naphtali, Manasseh, Simeon, Levi, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, Benjamin. Now watch this. Joseph is named as a tribe, but Joseph himself was given a double portion, and he was represented by Ephraim and Manasseh to make up the 12. One had to be left out, and Dan is not here. There are different people who give different theories as to why Dan is not listed and why Joseph's two sons are listed. Well, Joseph here, his name, and then his son Manasseh. But I'll be honest with you, I have no clue. Most people have no clue. So we let that mystery slide out because I don't want to speculate and guess. All right. Now we know that the 10 lost tribes are a thing. Assyria came and they took over the northern kingdom of Israel, exiled most of the people, and they got blended in with the Assyrian public wherever they were sent and lost. However, before they were exiled, before even Assyria attacked, some of the members of the 10 lost tribes would have been in Judah. When Assyria attacked, some of the 10 lost tribes would have run to Judah. After Assyria exiled, some of the 10 lost tribes would have remained. Okay? So there are many people walking around on the earth from the 10 lost tribes, in and among the Jews of Judah from the 10 lost tribes as well. So God knows them, God guides them, and God will mark who he will with his seal. The thing about this 144,000, some might say that, oh, it could be any 144,000 from a spiritual Israel, a spiritual Judah, a spiritual Reuben, a spiritual Gad. If you want to go with that answer, you kind of have to tell me what exactly is a spiritual Judah based on the Bible, not just you making up, okay, well, the Bible has this about Judah, so spiritual Judah is like that. No. I mean, where the Bible says there is a spiritual Judah, there is a spiritual Reuben, and there isn't. So this is a literal group of 144,000, 12,000s out of Israel itself. The 144,000 are described in Revelation 14 here. Check this out. Then I looked, and behold, on Mount Zion stood the Lamb, and with him 144,000 who had his name and his father's name written on their foreheads. The seal is the name of God on their foreheads. Isn't that great? How is that seal written? I don't know. We are sealed when we are baptized in the Spirit at salvation. Maybe that's the seal. This is a special version of that seal, I guess. I don't know. And I heard a voice from heaven, like the roar of many waters, and like the sound of loud thunder. The voice I heard was like the sound of harpists playing on their harps. And they were singing a new song before the throne, and before the four living creatures, and before the elders. No one could learn that song except the 144,000 who had been redeemed from the earth. It is these who have not defiled themselves with women, for they are virgins. It is these who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. These have been redeemed from mankind as first fruits for God and the Lamb. And in their mouth no lie was found, for they are blameless. Based on that, we can tell that they'll be singing a song no one else could learn. Right? No one could learn the song except them. So they'll be singing that song. They are undefiled by women. It's a bunch of guys. They are following Jesus wherever he goes. It is these who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. They are redeemed as first fruits for God and the Lamb. They have a special purpose. They are truthful and blameless. In their mouth no lie was found, for they are blameless. To find people like that will truly be a rarity. So, this is a special group. Now, these terms should be taken literally because the vision includes the sight, sound, and scene, and that the sight, sound, and scene, they are all allegorical, but the description list that was given to us here are not things that John saw. So John didn't see that they are not defiled. John didn't see that they follow the Lamb. John did not see that in their mouth was no lie. These are pieces of information given to him about them. This is not allegorical. What John sees is allegorical. So then I looked, and behold, I looked and saw on Mount Zion, so the Lamb and the 144. That's allegorical. Because he saw that. Okay? We know that the exact figure given and the fact that John said he heard the number, over here, I heard the number of the sealed. It is a clear piece of detail that is accurate and exact. Unless we get something more concrete, we're going with it as a literal 144,000. And in Revelation 7, we see details that they are literal men of Israelite descent because they come from the tribes. They have a song in Revelation 14, which means that their worship will be unique, their role will be unique and special to God. They will not have the encumbrance of relationship drama undefiled by women. They will not have relationship drama to keep them back from serving God. They will walk the path of Jesus in self-denial, truth, and worship. So, So when we see that they follow the Lamb wherever he goes, that's what I take it to mean, that they will follow Jesus in self-denial, in truth, and in worship. Maybe I'm wrong there. I'm speculating here now, trying to interpret what it's saying, what it means. They will be given to God as sacrificial resources. They'll be holy and they'll be pure before men. So like I said before, these guys are going to be special. Now, as far as their purpose is, we get some support from scripture, from commentators, because a lot of people say that they'll be preachers. They interpret it that these will be preachers. Immediately after John describes the composition of the 144, which is in this chapter, chapter 7, right after that, John talks about seeing a great multitude from every nation. And that innumerable group of people before God's throne that were taken out of the Great Tribulation, if you know, these are the ones coming out of the Great Tribulation. Right? So this great multitude is not the 144,000. It's other people, because these came from every nation, all tribes. And they have come out of the Great Tribulation here. The inference is that the 144,000, many commentators believe this, the 144,000 preached, and this multitude that we see here will be saved. So imagine in that terrible time, men will come to God through the preaching of God's chosen nation. He will trust them to preach after all their history of spiritual adultery and hatred and disdain for God's way. He will reward their work so powerfully when they turn to him that the Antichrist ruled earth. In that world ruled by the Antichrist, many people will be saved still. The devil will not be able to stop millions from being saved, even though his agent is in charge. So he thinks. In chapter 14, John sees the Lamb, and he sees the 144,000 standing on Mount Zion. Their voice is musical, their voice is powerful. That's why I described it as a sound of harpists and like thunder. That indicates that they will spread the good news of salvation and they'll be well received. Musical tone indicates it will be appreciated. The loudness, everybody's going to hear it. This happens before angels announce a terrible time. Because after this, the messages of the three angels, then I saw another angel, and another angel, and another angel. And you all know what comes after Revelation 14? Revelation 15 starts with 7 angels with 7 plagues, our friends who carry the 7 bowls of wrath. Yeah. So that is before the worst time to come on earth. These men will be preaching during the Great Tribulation and before the worst part of the Great Tribulation, when the 7 bowls of wrath will be poured out. The 2 witnesses will be preaching at the same time. So I guess, and this is purely me guessing now, I guess most of the focus and hate from the Antichrist and his armies and his people, it'll be directed towards the 2 witnesses, most of the hatred. Because the 144,000 be seen as small fries. Whether they perform miracles or not, I don't know. But the 2 witnesses will be noteworthy. They will get attention and possibly draw the attention of the Antichrist and the devil. Part of the support for this I give is my psychoanalysis of the devil, where I believe the devil is a raging, spoiled child. And he will get so angry that these 2 agents, these 2 witnesses, will be defying all his agents. And he will do what he can to focus his efforts with his main agent, the Antichrist, to kill these 2 messengers. And these 2 will be doing miraculous things that other men would not dare, other men would not be able to do. So the devil will focus a lot of his efforts on bringing those 2 down. Our good friends at GotQuestions.org have said a few things about the 144,000 that I agree with, except for one crucial piece. I think this piece is there because of old preachers' messages through the ages. They said that the 144,000 being sealed means that they will enjoy special protection from God to be kept safe from divine judgments and the wrath of the Antichrist. I'm not saying that's not possible. I'm just saying I saw no evidence in the Bible to say that this sealing carries divine protection. Maybe it is somewhere, but I didn't get any evidence from them, so that is a big deal. And I've not found anything myself in my shallow looking. So you may hear people saying that these 144,000 will be specially untouchable. If that's true, sweet. If it's not, that's just how things are, because everybody who is baptized in the Spirit of God is sealed. We know that. We've been sealed to him, right? So I don't think that the sealing talked about here, while it is special, I don't think that it will mean special protection for them. I hope it is, but I'm not counting on that, because that just sounds like wishful thinking. All right. So the sealed and the saved of God enjoy certain levels of favor, and that might seem special, but the saved people that that exist and have existed, we already know, and we've read that all of us are susceptible to being tortured, persecuted, and facing death by anti-God systems and people. One major question that I pose here is whether the 144,000 will only be gathering on earth to preach at that time, or has their work been going on through history to culminate at the end? I ask this because there is nothing in the word to definitively state that the 144,000 will all be preaching at the end of time, because it's possible for their message to have started a long time through history as seeds of faith that will bring fruit in latter days. Remember, behold, on Mount Zion, he sees the Lamb, and with him the 144,000. we could take that to mean several things. This could be an allegorical vision. Okay, the Lamb and his special agents who will be preaching. It could mean that the Lamb and the special agents are all really together at that moment in time. How does that happen? Does that mean that they're all dead? Does that mean that they're physical beings, but they'll gather where Jesus will be? Does it mean that throughout history they have a purpose, but here in the vision, he's seeing them as one body because they have that special purpose in common? None of that is explained to us. None of that is given or shown so far from what I can read in the scriptures. So I can't tell you that these 144 will be gathered at the same time. I can't tell you they'll be scattered throughout history or have been scattered. I can't tell you they're all coming still, or they're all here right now, or they've all gone already. Don't know. We do know that their preaching will affect the end times. So maybe all might be available during the Great Tribulation to preach. Maybe. But there's nothing in Scripture to say that is guaranteed. There's a possibility a few of them or lots of them might have been laying down the foundation over historical time for the ones who will be here during the Great Tribulation to preach. Okay? They will be standing on Mount Zion with Jesus, but that doesn't mean that they're all alive at the same time. Many places in Revelation would have men that are crying or men who are praying or preaching, and their ministries, good or bad, would have been carried out during history to lead to the end. So we hear the martyred saints crying out to God, and they would have been martyred over time, before Jesus, after Jesus, even now. And there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth in hell. People don't reach to hell one time, all at the same time. Over history, as you die, people go to Hades, right? I'm going to stop there, right? The 144,000 guys, we stop right there. Is there anything else that you all want me to add? Or, sorry, you all want to ask about this? A lot of questions with that group, by the way. And when we say that they are preachers, we don't mean that they'll literally all have churches. They might, or they might just be regular people, because our regular person job is to preach the word of truth. All right, we have no questions. To everyone watching on YouTube and or Facebook, this is 40 Days lesson number 182 for December. It's 182 or 183. I'll have to check that. For 40 days, this was the 7 seals message for part of the break between seal 6 and seal 7. I hope to have more of this ready for you next week, God willing, and I would see you then for this. Have a good night. God bless you all.